If you've been scrolling through endless listings, watching one-minute demos, and still feel stuck on whether a high-speed letter opener is worth the desk space, this review is here to settle the doubt. You're probably wondering if the hype around up to 17,500 envelopes per hour actually translates to a smoother day at the office or at home, or if you'd be better off with a simple manual cutter. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through the real-world experience of the Yale 62001 Deluxe high-speed letter opener and see if it truly earns its price tag. First off, the kind of workflow this machine is built for is anything that moves more than a handful of letters a day. Think small businesses that ship invoices, legal firms handling client correspondence, or a busy nonprofit that sends out monthly newsletters. If you're a freelance graphic designer who only opens a couple of envelopes a week, the cost and countertop footprint quickly become hard to justify. The key question is whether the time you save actually adds up, and the answer depends on volume and how you stack your envelopes. The opener's biggest claim is its ability to accept a 6-inch high stack of envelopes and feed them automatically. In practice, that means you can load a tray that looks like a small stack of postcards, pull the lever, and watch the blade glide through each piece without you having to reposition anything. I tested it with a mix of 1/8-inch thick business letters, a few 1/4-inch ch glossy flyers, and a batch of slightly warped envelopes from a local print shop. The self-sharpening blade adjusted on the fly, giving a clean, straight cut every time, even when the envelopes weren't perfectly aligned. For a user who hates the uneven slits that cheap rotary cutters leave, this is a noticeable upgrade. One practical strength that often gets glossed over in spec sheets is how the machine handles different envelope widths. The blade is fully enclosed and self-sharpening, which means you won't have to reach for a replacement after a few thousand cuts. In my trial, the cutter performed just as well on standard 49 inches and on the wider 59 inches that many mailing lists use for catalogs. The enclosure also keeps the blade from catching on your fingers, a safety feature that feels reassuring in a busy office where multiple people might operate it throughout the day. On the downside, the machine's size is not negligible. It sits about the length of a small printer and sits on a sturdy base that can't be tucked into a drawer. If you have a cramped workspace, you'll need to allocate a permanent spot for it, and the noise of the motor and blade can be louder than a typical desktop printer. In a quiet home office, the whirring might be a mild distraction, especially if you're trying to concentrate on writing emails while the device is chopping through a stack of mail. Another trade-off is the initial learning curve. The feeder is sensitive enough that a misaligned stack can cause a jam, and while the jam clears quickly, it does require a moment to realign the envelopes and re-engage the lever. Users who are used to the simplicity of pulling a manual cutter might find the extra step of loading a tall stack and watching the motor a bit fiddly at first. However, once you get the rhythm down, placing the envelopes with the flap side down and ensuring they're flat, the process becomes almost automatic, and you'll notice the time saved after the first few minutes. Now, who should actually consider buying this unit? Small to medium businesses that process several hundred envelopes a day will find the cost per envelope drops dramatically once the machine is amortized over a month's usage. Legal offices that need to open confidential client mail quickly, as well as accountants handling tax documents during filing season, get a tangible productivity boost. Even a busy home-based entrepreneur who ships out orders daily can benefit, especially if they're also receiving return paperwork that needs opening before processing. Who should walk away? Solo freelancers who open less than 20 envelopes a week, hobbyists who only need an occasional cut, and anyone with limited counter space will probably get more value from a high-quality manual cutter. The machine's monthly capacity of 500,000 envelopes is overkill for those scenarios, and the upfront expense might never be recouped through time savings. Also, if you're looking for a portable solution for on-the-go mailrooms, the 62,001 size and power requirements make it a poor fit. In terms of value beyond the headline numbers, the real savings come from reducing repetitive hand motions and the occasional finger nicks that come from using a rotary cutter. Over a month, the reduction in fatigue and the consistency of a clean cut can translate to fewer errors when filing open documents. For businesses that need every sheet to be legible, think contracts where a crooked opening could obscure a signature. The consistent cut width is more than a convenience. It's a quality control measure. If you decide this sounds like a match for your workflow, keep in mind,